But I mastered that style. It's like the 5 deadly venoms. So all he had to do was get next to a nigga like that, and he could destroy him.
Believe in that, for real. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strength. That all these people talk about an East Coast, West Coast war, they like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these. It's not a game.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I return as EGOVELI. I was gonna do this video in my regular self, but this video required EGOVELI. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A soldier dies but once. You know. Let's get into it. Now, a lot of people reached out. They said, oh, Ego, I know you heard the news. You're going to do a video? You damn right. Now, Triple G's promoter, K2 Promotions, Tom Loeffler, he just put out a public statement saying the Ward fight can happen at a catchweight of 164 with a 50-50 split, basically because Triple G has racked up a lot of fans with the Mexican style and selling out in Southern California, did good numbers on the East Coast of New York, and he's the A side, and Ward can't be considered the A side. Now, I always tell you this on my channel. Always look for consistency. With me, that's what you get. I told you guys from the jump, I am not a fan of catchweights in general, but since they are a part of life in boxing, this modern age of boxing, you have to incorporate them. So I take them on a case-by-case basis. Now, you look at Sean Porter versus Adrian Broner. I said that was one catch fight that I'm okay with. Reason being, Sean Porter, he lost to Kell Brook, his only loss, and he didn't get destroyed like he got knocked out or anything like that. Versus Cotto versus Gill. Gill had been knocked out by Triple G just a year before, hadn't really done anything but go the distance with Jared Fletcher, who was coming off a knockout to Danny Jacobs, and then he got into the Cotto fight, and being a big frame dude, he just looked gaunt, and the catch weight looked like he was drained and depleted. So those are two completely different catch weights. Same thing with Cotto and Canelo. I told you, if that fight happens at 155, it's not that big of a deal because I know Cotto's not a huge middleweight. It's a great, big, massive blockbuster fight. And Canelo has been fighting at 155 for the last 3 fights or so. So, again, case-by-case basis. Now we look at Andre Ward versus Triple G. And then you look at it. Ward just weighed in. I was there at 171.8 in his fight with Paul Smith. After a long layoff, we all know, I'm not getting into it, he had legal problems that are now resolved as he's with Rock Nation Sports under that new deal. So he fought at a catchweight, kind of test the weight, so he didn't have to. I talked to his camp, and they basically said it was done at that catchweight because he had a long layoff yet again. Ward has been very inactive. We all know this. He fought, at one point, he had fought one time versus Edwin Rodriguez in about 2.5 years, right? So he's been very inactive. They want to test the waters, and since it wasn't really a title fight, they wanted to see how he did at that weight, because a move up to 175 is possible, but they said he could absolutely still make 168. So instead of killing himself even more after a long layoff to drop down to 168 against Paul Smith, they made that a catchweight. Not to mention, Paul Smith didn't make weight and came in heavy, like over 4 pounds heavy, 4.5 pounds heavy, right? That's the backstory with Andre Ward. So you mean to tell me, after a long layoff, coming back at a catchweight of 171 and change, which to me I don't think would have altered the outcome in that particular fight, especially since Paul Smith had a huge weight advantage, right? Paul Smith said himself, Andre Ward is the best I've been in with, period. So, I mean, to me that's admission that he probably would have lost the fight at 168 or whatever. Okay, now you look at Ward versus Triple G. Why on earth would that fight take place at 164? It just, for what reason? I don't understand it. Why would it need to take place at 164? Right? It just, to me, I don't see a valid reason why that fight needs to take place at that weight, especially when big ass Carl Froch, who just posted muscle bound pictures of himself saying too big, too strong, right? He just said, I'm too big, too strong for Gennady Golovkin. And he's all flexed up and he looks jacked and swole, right? And they wanted to fight that. Now, this is the other thing that doesn't make sense for me. Carl Froch is known as a granite chin, man's man, a warrior, and a bigger puncher than Andre Ward. They say Andre Ward is pillow-fisted. He can't punch. That was even one of the questions. I think it was Michelle Joy Phelps that asked him what was his punching power like to Paul Smith at the post-fight press conference. So a lot of people are under the impression that Ward can't crack, right? So you were willing to fight Carl Froch, who's known as a puncher in the division, who has stoppages over Lucian Bute and fighters like that, Jermaine Taylor in a tough fight where he got knocked down, right? You're willing to fight the number 2 168-pounder with more momentum, because we know Andre Ward has been on the sidelines. And a lot of people are like, oh, who's Paul Smith? That's not a great win. Carl Froch is coming off a massive win in George Groves. It was a win that was controversial the first time. He set the record straight by knocking George Groves the fuck out. He beat Lucian Bute. He came and set the record straight with the Mikkel Kessler fight. Far more momentum. These are comments that you guys even leave. Froch has more momentum because while Ward was on the sideline, Froch was getting busy. Props to Froch and Eddie Hearn. So, again, back to my initial argument. So, Carl Froch being a known bigger puncher with more momentum, Tom Loeffler, Triple G, Team Golovkin, Abel Sanchez, they were willing to come all the way to 168 to fight him, who, again, is the bigger puncher, right? Ward's pillow-fisted. That doesn't make sense. You were willing to fight Chavez Jr., who's big as hell. You know what I mean? I don't know how hard he hits, but I think most people would probably say he hits hard. You know what I mean? And most people say Ward doesn't have crack. So why was he willing to fight Chavez Jr. at 168? But coming to Ward, it needs to happen at a catchweight of 164 when this man is just coming off of a fight where he was in between 168 and 175. Again, help me make that make sense. You guys were mad at Broner Porter. You guys were mad at Cotto Gill. But some people are going to push for this. Like, yeah, Ward, if he needs to fight, he needs to come down to 164. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people, when it's a fighter you don't like, let's say Canelo, let's say Floyd Mayweather, let's say Miguel Cotto, and a lot of people who like Triple G maybe don't like Floyd because that's a potential fight that some people think could happen, or maybe don't like Miguel Cotto because that's a fight with Triple G that possibly could happen, right? So when Cotto or Mayweather or Canelo, they do diva, quote-unquote diva demands, A-side demands, it's a problem. Floyd's a bitch. Floyd's a coward. He's a pussy. Miguel Cotto is joto. He's a bitch, maricon. These are things you guys say, not me. These aren't my words. This is what you guys say. So Cotto, Mayweather, they make A-side demands. They're all these things. When Tom Loeffler comes out, says it has to be a 50-50 split because we're the A-side, it has to be at a catchweight because we're the A-side, then that's acceptable? Again, look for consistency. Some of you boxing fans are shape shifters, period. Shape shifters. You have no form. You're formless. You're spineless. You act like this is my argument, and then when something contradicts that argument, you hightail it and say something totally different. Me, be consistent. If you hate catchweights, if you say that A-side diva demands are a problem, let it always be a problem. And again, that's not what some of you guys do. You'll say, Ward, yeah, Triple G is the A-side. Ward needs to come down to 164. It's only the right thing to do. But when A-side Floyd, who's clearly an A-side, because first of all, look at the catchweight with Floyd and Canelo. And I leave no stone unturned, especially as EGOVELI. That fight was taking place at 152. I told you guys, I'm not a fan of catchweights, but Canelo was like 21, 22 years old. He was bigger than Mayweather. He is young. When you're young, your body is more pliable. You have more flexibility. You have more room to make dramatic changes to your body, as opposed to Daniel Gill, who's been through wars with Darren Barker, who got knocked out last year by Triple G, a powerful, menacing puncher, right? So that's why I take it on a case-by-case basis. Canelo lost because Canelo, at that point especially, didn't have the skills to beat Mayweather. You know what I mean? He wasn't even in punching range a lot of those times. He was getting embarrassed. He was getting tagged up. He didn't know what to do. His feet were in sand, right? That's it, period. So you look at it by a case-by-case basis, and this just doesn't make sense. That was a problem for a known A-side who's proven his worth for 19 years, but some of you guys will make excuses for why Ward, no one still answered this question. Being the fact that Ward has only fought, let's say, 2 times in 3 years, very inactive, no one's disputing that. Why is his resume still better than Triple G's as a professional? And if you disagree with that, please show yourself in the comment section and get alienated, because there's no way, where there was a Super 6, some people are like, oh, that's because Ward had a tournament. Doesn't matter. Fact is, you look at his resume, he has better names. Kessler, Froch, that's better than anybody Triple G has fought as a pro. You know what I mean? Would you pick Froch to lose to Adama? Would you pick Froch to lose to Gabe Rosado? Would you pick Froch to lose to, Martin Murray? Who would Froch lose to out of that bunch? You know what I mean? Arthur Abram when Ward fought him. Who would he lose to? Would he lose to Willie Monroe? You know what I'm saying? You got to look at it. So by far, Ward has a superior resume than Triple G at this current moment. So to chump Ward like he's like a super or superb B-side, Triple G, I give it to him. Him and his team are doing a hell of a job marketing him, and they're doing great with that. But Ward is not just like the bottom of the barrel. Some people are like, oh, he can't even sell out his living room. I was at the fight, and it looked pretty packed to me. Looked full, the crowd was energetic, and I've been to several fights before, you know what I mean? And it was no different. I was at Terrence Crawford in Omaha, and the crowd loves him, and I seen the same energy and the same amount of love at the Terrence Crawford fight at the CenturyLink Center. So, you know what I mean? That you can dead that argument. So what is it, boxing fans? Again, I know some of you guys are shapeshifters, so you'll bend it and chew and, oh, but Adrian Broner, he fought at welterweight before. Yeah, but he also struggled at welterweight before. He moved up 2 weight classes, fought Paulie Malignaggi, won via split decision, and then he fought Maidana and got thrashed. So he dropped back down and had been fighting at 140. So him fighting against Sean Porter at a catchweight makes more sense. Now, Triple G hasn't moved up officially to 168 as a pro, but he obviously has the power to stop guys at 160. I really feel his style and power and his way of delivering his power will have no problems transitioning up to 168 at all, right? Based on how he delivers his power, his accuracy, and his stalker-like style, right? You're not getting the fights you want at 160. David Lemieux's most likely waiting around for a fight that's not even made to find out who his mandatory is, because Oscar's most likely trying to protect him and not throw Lemieux right in the fire with Triple G. Cotto and Canelo is likely to happen. Mayweather's talking about fighting Berto and Mayfield. Froch is saying, oh, I might retire. I'm too big for you, but I might retire. Peter Quillen's acting, and I haven't heard any interest in Peter Quillen wanting to fight Triple G. So if you're not getting the looks you want, instead of fighting like guys that make no sense, even a Chavez Jr. fight doesn't really make sense at the moment, because Chavez Jr. just got knocked out in his last fight. Triple G is running low on options. Who is he going to fight? Sebastian Hyland, that nobody knows? People can't catapult Golovkin to the next level until he fights the right competition. It's clear if you're a journeyman or a past prime guy or a guy who's just good and solid, you probably won't beat Triple G. So that's why people want to see him fight the Frotches of the world, the Wards of the world, because he's a great fighter. You know what I mean? And they want to see him tested. So again, people are going to try to bend it and twist it, but explain how the catchweight makes sense. And then as far as like the 50-50 and the dictating, the A side, I thought that was a problem. When Mayweather does it, it's a problem. When Cotto does it, it's a problem. So why is it not a problem now? Because you're a shapeshifter and you don't care about the truth. You don't care about, you care about isolated instances and who's doing it. If Mayweather's doing it, you hate him, so he's a bitch. But if Triple G's doing it and you like him, then that's all good. And people are going to try to spin it, bend it, flip it, twist it. Oh no. And that's what it is, man. I like Triple G. I've always maintained that. Don't take my word for it. Search my channel, type in Triple G, hit the search button, and pull up all the videos. Like when I said, Triple G, nobody at middleweight beats him. I really believe that, still to this day. Now, in addition to that, you're not getting the fights you want at middleweight. Frotch doesn't know. He's just stringing you along. Might retire, maybe not. That's a great fight if you could make that. But all of a sudden, Ward's the B side, so he has to fight at catchweight. Come on, man. You know what time it is. There's no difference between this and pricing yourself out. Leo Santa Cruz said, I want $3 million to fight Rigondeaux. You know that's not happening. Robert Guerrero made around $3 million to fight Mayweather on pay-per-view as part of the Showtime deal. That was the first Showtime fight for Mayweather, right? And Robert Guerrero made that much. So you know damn well to fight Rigondeaux, another champion, you're not getting $3 million. Nonito Donaire didn't even get $3 million to fight Rigondeaux. So that's a way of pricing yourself out. That's saying you don't want the fight. Because if you have ludicrous demands that can't be met, that's not feasible or reasonable to be met, then that's called pricing yourself out. Same thing with this. By saying you'll fight him at 164 with the 50-50 split and all these clauses and stuff, that's pretty much saying that you don't want the fight as far as I'm concerned. Because if you wanted the fight, why are you putting out to the public these demands and they have to be met and basically chumping Andre Ward like he has no pull or no leverage? Like Andre Ward, whether you think so or not, he's big. He's big enough, you know what I mean? He just fought on BET, new network deal. He's in the new Creed movie. He's a commentator on HBO. People know the face more so than Willie Monroe Jr., right? Period. You know what I mean? Willie Monroe Jr., to my knowledge, he's not in the new Creed movie that looks like it's awesome, right? He hasn't been a commentator on HBO. People know Ward's face, in addition to being a fighter and on the Super 6 and stuff like that. So to me, that's equivalent to pricing yourself out. If I say, yeah, I'll fight Floyd Mayweather, it don't even matter. And then I'm like, yeah, we got to fight at Chuck E. Cheese and Minnie Mouse got to be the ref and all this type of stuff. You got to pay Floyd in tokens and, you know what I mean? All these kind of crazy demands and like hardened, set in stone demands that I believe won't be met, then that means you don't want the fight. Because if it was, you would like, let's go back and forth and negotiate this, not these set in stone 50-50, I'm the A side, catch weight, and that's it. You know what I mean? Why does it have to be a catch weight? Negotiate. If Ward says I'll do a catch weight and you guys can agree, why does it have to be 164? Why can't it be a catch weight of 166, 167? You know what I mean? But it doesn't sound like the negotiation, they're up for the negotiation in that. They just said what they said, and that's it. And if Ward wants it, he has to accept that, which pretty much puts him at a disadvantage. And Ward, knowing his self-worth, probably won't do that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, how's this dude going to tell me to calm down when I'm the more accomplished star? You know what I mean? That's like Anthony Mundine. He can't power play Cotto and say, yeah, Cotto, if he wants to fight me, he needs to fight. And I'm not comparing Mundine to Triple G, but I'm just saying if a person like Cotto, he's going to feel disrespected. That's my whole point. He's going to feel disrespected if he feels more accomplished than the next man and they're trying to tell him what to do. And by far, Andre Ward is the more accomplished. Whether you like Ward's style or not, whether he's boring or not, he's more accomplished than Gennady Golovkin as a pro on the resume. And these people want to bring up resume and Mexican style and whose fight is more flashy and boring. It's not about that. It's talking about who's the best of the best. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.